Okay, Rachel, I'm curious your perspective from the other side of Colin's phone call. What advice would you give Colin?
So the term you used, I know why you did it, because we want to stay away from subject to and creative because
Yeah.
it terrifies people.
Yeah.
I would talk through, rather than use a term like that, for me, and what's worked for me is to explain, like, are you familiar with investors taking over payments for? So just lay it out to me and see what, because you're going to end up explaining what you're doing anyway, so you might
Right.
as well just use the verbiage.
Sure. It's funny because I get last episode I was on, I got the opposite advice. So I'm trying to find a nice medium of that, and informal assumption seems like a good way of explaining what it is without explaining what it is. But I do see your point as well. It is better to just kind of put it all out there in the open. For sure.
Yeah, people use different type of terminology for it, right? Some people say, there's someone who attends our things who says he likes to use the word wraparound mortgage. Some like to use informal assumption. I think that I'm the same way as Rachel, that I would probably just rather say, look, what we specialize in is helping sellers by maximizing their equity. The way that we do that is we take over the payments.
Okay.
And it's I think that, one thing that a lot of investors do is they're afraid to say the bad thing out loud.
Yeah.
Right. And, it's this sort of thing like, if I say this, what's going to happen? And realistically, the worst thing that can happen on any one of our phone calls is just that someone's going to hang up. Like that's the worst thing. And trust me, it happens every single day for me.
Do you call them back after they hang up on you, Mike?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
All the time.
I think we got disconnected.
Something
Yep.
happened. I don't know, AT&T or whatever, I absolutely call back. And, so anyway, the reason that I'm saying that is because I think that if you address it at the start, like if you're completely honest up front, I think that that's going to sound different than a lot of other people who are afraid to say the bad thing out loud.
Right.
Right. Why are we afraid to say that we're taking over payments? Why are we afraid to say that we're an investor when we are an investor? Now, that one's kind of like a sticky one. I don't like to say that I'm an investor sometimes because have you ever had an agent go, "Are you an investor?"
I have, yeah.
I mean, yeah. And who cares?
Yeah.
I'm trying to supply, I'm trying to give to my family or, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think that your lead in, I think Rachel picked up on exactly what I was going to pick up on too, which is let's talk about something specific, right? Let's talk about the listing that you're calling on. Hey, I'm calling about 123 Main Street.
Right. Yeah.
And and you can even kind of lead into it slowly, but you can say, hey, I'm calling about 123 Main Street. It looks like a great place. Tell me about the listing. How's it going?
Yeah.
And that's why actually I'm very excited that Rachel's here because Rachel is so good at having those kinds of, what would you say, Rachel? It's kind of like, it's not a separate conversation, but it's kind of like less formal. It's, hey, let's connect here for a second, right?
So for me, I think part of it, Mike, that you might be picking up on, Colin, this is how I go into every call. I do not care about the house I'm calling on.
Yeah.
And I've said to agents when they're like, they're not interested. I'm like, good. I really don't like this house anyway. It's not really in my buy box, but I like you. So let me talk to you. Because at the end of the day, the house will sell itself and you will never talk to that seller again. But a real estate agent is constantly going to run into crap they can't move. So if they like you, they call you instead of the other person that just can I buy the house? So
yeah, for sure.
And at the same time too, I always tell people that I've never closed anything. I've closed lots of real estate transactions. I've closed lots of subject to transactions, but I've never closed it. And people always use that term closer, whatever that means. When I think of closer, I think of Alec Baldwin from Glengarry Glen Ross going, hey, that coffee's for closers, That's not me. I'm not, hey, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to agree to this deal or I'm walking away. That's not what we do, right?
Yeah.
What we do is we simply give them another option.
Right.
And when I found comfort in talking about sub-2 deals, I found comfort in basically pulling my offer off the table and saying, look, this is what I do. This is just an option for you guys. If you have any interest in learning more about it, I'm here. I'm happy to have that conversation. We've found that it helps sellers, it helps agents. It may not help your seller. You know, your sellers may not be in this situation, and honestly, this type of sale isn't for everyone.
Right.
But, you know, let me kind of explain to you what it is, how it benefits the seller, also how it can benefit you, Mr. and Mrs. Agent, to Rachel's point of let's work together on this, right? Let's get on the same side of the booth here. Right. Let's do that same side sitting thing, which is always weird when a couple does that in a diner or something like that.
It's cute. What are you talking about?
It is cute for the first 2 weeks of a relationship, and then your neck just hurts because you're like this.
Yeah.
You know?
It also depends if your partner is left-handed and you're not.
Yeah.
You have to sit on the opposite, or you just you sit on the right and the left. But anyway, yeah, I think that Rachel has a great point about going into every single one of these phone calls as if the property she's calling about isn't really the target, the relationship is the target.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
Collin, I'm curious, what do you buy to do? Like, what are you doing with 3 to 4 properties every month?
Yeah, it's not entirely truthful. It's just kind of like an opening line. I want to eventually get to that point, to, take over the payments and then put my own terms on it and sell it to people that don't qualify for financing.
Okay. So one of the things, if I can, I'm sorry, Mike, I don't mean
No, I mean...
So one of the things that I'm going to start doing, because I'm in the same boat, I don't have any veteran co-living spaces here, but to get over the ick investor thing, what I'm starting to say to people when I'm cold calling is, hey, I'm interested in XYZ property. When they ask, why? I say, well, I'm an investor. Part of what I do in Charlotte is purchase homes, and I use them for co-living spaces for veterans. I worked at a veteran nonprofit. The number one most requested service from Veterans Bridge Home was housing. So that's what I primarily do with homes. And then if they don't fit within my buy box, I wholesale them. But 100%. Because for me, to lead, people feel before they think. Yeah. And so to immediately be like, hey, I'm buying property to solve a problem in our city, to solve a problem. So it gets over the, you're just here to take everyone's equity and you don't have to explain hey, the bank didn't ask this person if they needed a HELOC. So it allows you to get ahead of the objection. And that's what I'm all about.
Right. Okay. I can appreciate that for sure.
I love that. And you know what? I haven't thought about that in probably more than a year, Rachel, is getting ahead of the objection. And I think that I naturally do it now, but I think that even thinking about it is so helpful, right? Because you know what their concerns are going to be.
Yeah.
And our mentor does a great job of this. What he talks about is whenever he's having a conversation with an agent or a seller, he'll say, can I tell you the things that I would worry about if I were in your position?
Right.
I love that because that's basically someone on the other line going, they're opening up their jacket or whatever, and there's nothing underneath. This is who I am. This is what I'm doing. Yeah. And I want to make sure that you're aware of everything. It builds that level of trust as well. Right. And you don't have to say the word wholesale, right? You could say it a little bit differently. You could say, hey, I have some partners who are buying in that area. My job is just to source opportunities for them.
Right. Okay.
The other thing, one of the things I've started doing, Mike, too, when I'm cold calling, is instead of saying, can I tell you what I'd worry about? I start with what are you worried about for your seller, especially if they signal I'm here for my seller. My job is to, because you have those real estate agents that are like, I'm here to take care of my seller. Where I'm like, well, tell me what your concerns are about me taking over the payments. And then when they inevitably forget something, I'm like, well, let me tell you something that you didn't even mention that I want to make sure, so that you're literally educating them without them knowing you're educating.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's good. That would have kind of backed me into a wall because I don't have a really good explanation for how you avoid the due on sale clause. For every sort of type of mortgage or type of loan that's on the property. I don't know how you get out of it.
You're not going to know what that strategy is right now anyway.
Right.
What I've started to do is actually give them a document. In fact, it's in our folder, our subject to contract folder. It outlines what's going to happen in the case of a due on sale being called. And I actually get them to sign that. But what happens is that every situation is going to be different because every bank's going to want to see something different at the end of the day, right? The result is going to be different. Okay. I don't mind being vague in those scenarios. Okay. What I'll say is, if I really want to get into it, and sometimes you don't even have to. Sometimes you can stay up here with it and not really dive into the weeds of it. But if you choose to dive into the weeds, what I will do is something along the lines of, this type of thing has happened to us a few times. And we've done this, me and my partners have done this hundreds, if not more than 1,000 times. So it doesn't happen all that often. But in the case of it happening, we've done a couple of different things. Now, every bank is going to be different. So I can't tell you that the bank that your seller has is going to go exactly the same way. However, this is what we've done in the past. And I'll lay out one where, for example, we called up the bank and we told them what happened. We were completely upfront with them, and we told them that we purchased the home. And they ended up saying that they simply just wanted to start collecting the payments again. They didn't really worry about the transfer of ownership. And so they kind of let that slide. The other end of the spectrum, the other time that this happened to us, is where we actually had to deed the property back to the seller, and the seller just leased it back to us. And we had that agreement in place before we closed on the transaction in the first place. And so it wasn't a scenario where the seller was foreclosed on because we knew what was going to happen if the due on sale clause was called way before it even was called.
Right. A lot of pre-planning, which is kind of the route that I wanted to go down. Like, you just plan for every scenario, or as best as you can anyway. I don't know how to verbally get that across to where it's clear and concise just yet.
Then maybe stay high level with it. You don't have to go into it. And that's the thing about a lot of these calls is, I think a lot of people get the urge to feel like they need to say everything that they know.
Yeah.
When in reality, the agent on the other side doesn't even need that right now.
Right.
Want it. Half the time they don't want it. They just want your offer.
Right. Well, how do I make my commission on this?
Yep. Right.
And so if you want to stay high level and say, look, we've addressed that many times before. In fact, the partner that I'm going to bring in on this opportunity has done that exact same thing before. We'll address that if it does happen, but, and then transition into something else.
Okay. So just kind of gloss over it for now. You can dig into the weeds if they like your offer, if they want to go forward with it. Or you can clear them in on those details later on.
I always consider that first call, or even the first few calls until they show genuine interest in your offer, as super high level. I don't want to dive into the weeds. I don't want to tell them about servicing companies. I don't want to tell them about these sorts of things, unless they specifically ask. But I want to keep it super high level and say, look, we've addressed that in the past. We've figured out solutions for them. If you guys have genuine interest in our offer, then I'll explain to you how exactly it does work technically so that you guys are completely comfortable with the process.
Yeah.
To go further with that too, I actually have 3 meetings with real estate agents next week, because when they start doing that, I say, you know what? These are great questions. What I think we should do is you and I should meet. You tell me where in Uptown you want to meet, or if you're down showing houses in Rock Hill, Fort Mill, I can either swing by a place, whatever, and we can talk about it. Because what ends up happening then is you get the time to do all the research on what they asked through the archives. Go look at No One Left Behind. Go listen to Pace Close with people, or have these conversations. Listen to people Mike has highlighted. That way you can put your Collin flair on it, and it doesn't feel gross and salesy. It literally is solving, as long as you're I'm here to solve a problem with you.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of I'm here to close this deal.
Yeah.
I just had what could be either a terrible idea or a really fun idea for a YouTube channel for you, Collin.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay,
here's the title. Are you ready for it? Are you sitting down?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Collin. With like the apostrophe after CALLIN apostrophe.
Dope. There's nothing cool like that with my name, Collin. Mine's just like like Rage Hell, and nobody wants to talk to that investor.
Oh man, it is a good idea. I'm not gonna lie. It's an angle that I haven't thought of before. It's a joke that people have made on my name countless times, but for a YouTube channel, it's actually a pretty good idea, I think.
I mean, I hate to be the 1,000th person. It's like anytime someone makes a joke about my name, trust me, I've heard it before today. You know, it's not the first time that I've heard you say that.
So, what's the premise behind the YouTube channel? Just me calling agents?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, you know, if you want to become an expert caller, what you do is you start calling people live, forcing yourself to do it and improve that way.
That has been a thought on my mind. I have been thinking about starting a YouTube channel anyway, and I haven't really decided what I wanted to do. But going live and just forcing myself to call in front of a whole bunch of people it's not a great idea, but it's a good idea at the same time.
It's cool. It's a great idea, a good idea, scary as hell.
Scary, super scary. But
yep. I did it when I first joined Sub2. I did it for 90 days straight.
Really?
Where I just called agents live, publicly, put it out there. Yeah, scary as all hell.
Yeah, it's super scary, but it would, give me good practice for sure.
Well, Are you guys ready to get Collin?
Let's go.
Let's get Collin. Yeah. Let's just dive right into it today. I think that this is a really interesting introduction to today's call session anyway. For those of you guys who have joined us mid-session, if you will, my name is Mike Jackson. This is the Dialed In Low Equity Podcast. Today we're joined by Collin, no apostrophe, and Rachel. Rachel, ladies first, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what you're looking to accomplish.
Yep. So my name's Rachel Davis. I live in Metrolina, or Charlotte. My husband and I have an incredible interest and have started moving our business forward with co-living in Charlotte. Premises behind it is we're both Army veterans, and I worked at a veteran nonprofit for quite a while, where the number one resource that was requested was affordable housing. So Michael and I see co-living in Charlotte as a way to get at housing the over 350 veterans that are currently without a home.
That's awesome. And just for clarification's sake, Michael is her husband, not this Michael.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I also love co-living for vets as well. So I think it's a very, very cool cause. Thanks so much for doing that, by the way. I think that's amazing. Collin, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? How can people work with you?
I live in Utah currently, and right now I'm doing my best to wholesale as much as I can so I can eventually start to add to my own portfolio and do the co-living thing as well, amongst other things. I'm going to start diving into pre-foreclosures here in Utah, so if anybody is buying in Utah, please reach out to me.
So cool. That's awesome. Well, both of you guys, thank you so much for joining. As always, I appreciate returning callers. It seems like that's all that we're getting these days anyway. Very few people are gutsy enough like you two to come in here and make calls publicly. So both of you guys have been given a list. Both of these, or I guess the list that both of you guys have been given is on market, low equity, brand new on market. I think it's probably 3 or so days old at this point, which means that this data has not yet hit PropStream. Okay, so we're getting ahead of this data, or ahead of the listings because of this data. And so it changes the calling a little bit, right, Rachel? It's kind of like what we were talking about before, where yes, we're calling about a listing, but we're also building a relationship with the client. So I'm excited for Collin, for you to hear Rachel's calling strategy. I'm going to make sure that I say Colleen. Do like a hard G at the end too. Have you guys
do the hard G?
Now I'm waiting to find.
Go ahead, Rachel.
I'm waiting to find a Sub2 member named Colleen, because you could have Collin and Colleen Collin.
I think there is one for sure. I think I've talked to her actually.
That'd be awesome. Special session.
Yeah.
Of Collin. Freaking love it. Well, let's get Colleen with a hard G, and let's see how it all goes, guys.
Collin, do you want to start at the top and I'll start at the bottom?
Sure.
The only thing, do you mind if I call the 3 that are in Charlotte? Cool. That's my only ask.
Only if you don't buy it yourself, you sell it to Collin. Okay.
Got it. If it's in Collin's buy box, it's yours, bud.
There you go.
Fantastic.
All right, guys. Good luck.
I'm gonna mute and then unmute when I get an agent.
Perfect.
Cool.
I'm looking for a Colleen to join today. No luck so far.
You'll find one, I'm pretty sure.
I have an ex-girlfriend named Colleen, but I don't want to bring that one up.
There's not a lot of them out there. Collins and Collins. A lot more Collins.
For sure. Oh my God, that would be so funny, actually.
That'd be strange. We should do a YouTube channel together.
I love it.
Okay. Okay. Rick. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. My name's Collin, and I'm calling about your listing at 14828 East 118th.
Yes. Yeah, how can I help you?
Yeah, I was just curious about it. Me and my partner, we are looking to buy 3 to 4 properties a month, and we're kind of targeting the low equity properties out there in hopes to take over the payments of those loans.
Right. Well, that one is currently under contract.
Oh, is it?
So
Congratulations.
it's not available. I've had a couple people reach out actually looking to do that, and I had talked to my sellers about it, and they weren't
Not too
interested
stoked
in
about
going
it?
that route anyway, though. But
Okay.
I appreciate you reaching out nevertheless.
Yeah, do you have anything else going on then?
I have a listing over in Pueblo at the moment, and then I should have a handful coming up
Okay.
over the next 2 to 3 months. I don't think, off the top of my head, any of the ones I have coming up, they'd be interested in doing that.
Yeah. Have you done one of those?
You never know, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to say until we go to market.
Right. Have you ever done a transaction like that before?
I haven't. I've asked around about it, and I haven't heard the best of reviews when it comes to it.
Sure.
In large part because my understanding is if you guys were to stop, well, a couple things. If you guys were to stop making payments, it falls back on the sellers. And we have an attorney for home checks, and he was mentioning that if the lender, the mortgage provider, were to find out that this transaction took place, they could call the balance due immediately.
Yeah, they can. For sure, they can.
So,
they do have that
it makes
option.
it a little worrisome,
But yeah, for sure. But every bank is different. Not every bank is gonna always exercise that option to call the loan due. Sometimes banks just want to make sure that the payments are gonna get made on time, and that's really all they care about. But I can't say that for every bank out there. It is a risk that that is real, but there are ways of getting around it, which basically is just a lot of pre-planning involved in that. And if your sellers are ever interested in something like that, we can definitely go deeper into that rabbit hole of getting around the due on sale clause. But yeah, there are ways of getting around all of these concerns. But just right off the bat, we try to make your sellers as secure in the deal as possible. Yeah, the property would fall back on them if we were to default, but to default would be going against our business model. Our business kind of relies on us making those payments. So we don't really default, but if it were to happen, then yes, your seller would get the property deeded back to them to do whatever they want to do with it, whether to sell it immediately or what have you, because we're probably going to do some renovations before that ever happens anyway. So they'll be getting an improved property to sell. So it kind of sets them up for success, really. But I don't want to. I know not a lot of people really want to go through that trouble, but some people
in
kind
every
of
situation, if it makes sense, then it's it's worth exploring. But
Sure.
yeah, at the moment there wouldn't be anything that would fall under the umbrella of it making sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes total sense. Typically, we're trying to target those people that are having to bring money to the closing table. Like, after commissions and closing costs, they're typically going to have to write a check just to sell the property. With that being said, we do take care of all the closing costs and agent commissions, and we come unrepresented. So if you wanted to, represent us on the buyer side, you can get that commission as well.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
No, like I said, I think there's value in it for the right situation.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly not opposed to exploring it and running it by sellers when it makes sense.
Yeah.
I would say if you see other ones pop up of mine and want to reach out, please do so, and we can explore them.
Okay, sounds good, man. So what else do you have going on? Do you have any like fix and flips? Do you like come across a lot of those, like really busted up properties that you can't move?
I haven't messed with much of those. I did a lot of those early in my career, but recently I haven't really messed with them. Not because I'm against them or anything. It's just hasn't been a focus. So
absolutely,
I've been more on the traditional listing buy sell side.
Gotcha. No worries. Well, man, I hope we can do business together in the future. Hopefully I'll be reaching out to you again.
Okay, appreciate the phone call. Have a great day and a good weekend.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. I appreciate it. You too.
Thanks. Bye.
Call him back. That's someone you want to call back. Yep.
Okay.
100%. I almost don't want to say anything because I want to ride the momentum from that phone call because he was such a great agent to start with.
He was a really good one to call.
He was open. He was listening to you. He had genuine questions and responses.
Yeah.
A lot of these agents we talk to will just throw something out there like, yeah, whatever, it's under contract, bye. As opposed to this guy, yeah, it's under contract, but he was open to hearing for, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes about what it is that you do.
Yeah, I was very shocked about that. I was thankful for it because he does sound like a cool agent to work with for sure. What else should I have? How should I continue that conversation?
I have a couple notes, but Rachel, I'm curious what you say.
So I'm a big ego stroker in making friends on the first call, right? So when he was talking about like, well, I don't really mess with fix and flips. I did that early on in my career. The first thing when I hear them like humble brag about themselves, I'm like, man, you must be good. Like most agents I know are not getting most of their referrals from previous clients. They're like representing friends and family. Yeah, essentially, I'm really good. Oh, great. Like, do you ever work with investors? Because like if you're good, like imagine what you could be if you worked with me. Like, and the other thing, when he started talking about due on sale, it was really clear. Like he phoned a friend and then like was like, well, this one's scary. I'm done. Yeah. Where for me, when I get stuff like that, I'm like, oh man, like tell me more about like people who've experienced that. Okay. And most of the time, and I'm sure Mike's done the same thing, they start telling you terrible traditional sales stories. And I'm like, oh, it sounds like you should stay away from like traditional real estate. You should work with me. We bring cash to close. We da-da-da-da. Like, so when he started talking about doing sale, instead of like telling him all the ways you can stop it, if you were calling local, I would say, let's sit down and have a conversation. Like that's the point because he's interested and it's like, I want to get a cup of coffee for you and I want to go over this. But I think you spent too much time trying to educate him on due on sale instead of being friends.
Yeah, you're right. You are totally right about that.
That's my style.
Rachel, I wrote that exact post last week, literally word for word, because I went to a meetup. God, what day is it today? Today's Thursday. Okay, so I was driving up to Squad Out. Okay, so last Wednesday, I went to a meetup down in New Braunfels, and it was all of us cool sub-2 people. We were talking about how fun, creative finance is, and this agent comes up to us, gives me this pen, and says, how long do you guys hold your properties for? And I said, well, as long as we possibly can, quite frankly. And she goes, oh, man, I was hoping that you guys would say that you sell it quickly, and I can represent you. I said, well, okay, well, that's an interesting opening line here. And then she started to get into sub-2 stuff. And she mentioned that she advises her clients to have a very short-term balloon payment on sub-2 transactions. And I go, okay, well, why would you do that? And she talked about the due on sale clause. And then I asked her if she'd ever done one. What do you think her answer was? Nope.
Yeah.
Never done one.
Yeah.
Yet she has this belief that this due on sale is the big boogeyman, right? Yeah. I asked her to tell me a horror story. I mean, Rachel, it's like you read my post. And she started talking about all these traditional sales and how buyers backed out or whatever happened. It was never about a creative deal. Mm. And, what I wrote down here, so that was kind of a whole separate shocker that you just brought that up, Rachel. But what we're going up against right now are all of these agents who have been advised by their brokerage's attorney about subject to transactions. I can guarantee that every single large brokerage has had their attorney do some sort of presentation on this new crazy thing called subject to and how their clients shouldn't do it.
Right.
Right. And what is the scariest thing for a seller?
To not sell the property?
Probably due on sale or default, right? Those are the two things that are going to impact a seller the most.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. The representatives, the attorneys who are advising these agents against due and subject to because of a due on sale, for example, has never done a subject to deal.
Right.
Never. They just know that there is a due on sale clause, right? And so it's very easy to scare people about that.
Yeah.
The other side of it too is this agent specifically was talking about default. Okay, what happens in the case of default? One thing that I think you could have done there instead of go down the road that you did go down was spin that on him, which it's not like alternative facts situation. It's a realistic type of response, which is, look, if I don't pay, that's actually the best case scenario for your client, and then shut up.
Okay.
Let's play this out for a second. Rachel, if I don't pay, it's actually probably the most beneficial scenario for your client.
I don't know who you're talking about. How is that good for my client? They're going to go into default.
Great question. So if you think about it this way, what we always do in every single transaction we purchase is we escrow a couple months worth of payments so that at least the underlying mortgage is paid. Now, because we secure the seller with a promissory note and a deed of trust, their note may not be paid on, which is what they can technically default on me with, right? So even though they can foreclose on me, sorry, that was the word I should have used, they can foreclose on me while their mortgage is being paid, so it's not affecting their credit or their relationship with their bank. Now, if you think about it this way, let's say, Rachel, I come in and I buy your seller's house. I'm coming in with a pretty significant down payment, right? I have costs associated with this. We're going to improve the property. We're probably, depending on what our strategy is, we're going to improve it to the point that it's actually going to increase in value. And depending on when this default happens, let's say, for example, this property appreciates in value by 10% in the next 3 years. If I default, your seller gets to keep all of the money I've already given them. They get all of the improvements on the property that I've made, and they get all of the appreciation without having to pay any money towards that house. So they actually get another asset back for free that they can sell for even more money than the way that they sold it before.
Is that located? And I know this is probably what they're going to ask. That's in the closing documents. That's codified.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say to him. You did it way better than I did. But
I mean, shoot, I just did it in a role play. I fumbled my way through it also. But like the idea here is that if you take what is actually a negative in their mind and you go, that's actually the best thing for the seller.
Yeah.
And then the response is going to be exactly what Rachel's was, which is, what in the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
Why is that the case? It gives you the opportunity to explain the process to them in a way that you don't just want to come out with and say, look, this is what we do. We do X, Y, and Z, and technically we do these sorts of things. You know?
Yeah.
But it allows you to strengthen your position as the expert here and say, look, this is what we do to protect a seller. And in the case of us defaulting, their mortgage is still paid to the bank, right? The instrument that we give them to protect them, they can actually use to foreclose on us so that they get that asset back. Now, they can choose to foreclose on us or not, right? If they think it's beneficial for them, then they can foreclose on us. It's a very simple process. But imagine being given a house that's appreciated 10% in a couple of years after we've made improvements to it and taken great care of the property. You know, our business model is not one. You said this, and I loved where you went with it, by the way. Our business model is one where we're going to drop a lot of money into this house, right? We're going to give you a significant down payment. We're going to pay you your commission, all the closing costs. That's a lot of money. Yeah. And it doesn't make sense for us to miss payments because what we put into our agreement is that the seller has the opportunity to take that house back. Now, a good business model isn't one to just give assets back.
Yeah.
Right? So we're going to sink significant amount of money into this. Have you ever dropped 50 grand on something and just wiped your hands with it and said, I don't want this anymore? Very rarely does that happen, right? That's a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
And so, you know, for that reason, Collin, that's exactly why that scenario has not happened to us. It's because we protect the seller on the front end, and we're also putting a significant investment into this property. So, yes, should that be a concern of yours? Absolutely. Is the likelihood high? Absolutely not. I thought you rocked that call, Collin.
I felt better about that call than I did the last call. I know it's sounding a little too like I don't know, like I didn't care about talking to this guy, but I was really just trying to focus on not fucking it up. Sorry, not screwing it up.
Rachel never heard that. She was in the military and she never heard a bad word.
Well, I don't know if your viewers like her or anything like that.
All those bill payer words in my house. When you pay bills, you get to say them.
Yeah. I was just really concerned about messing it up and just sounding like a total idiot. So that's the first call out of the way since that last one.
Your first call was a good one. Ride that momentum.
Yeah.
While you guys are calling, I'm going to tell you a quick little story, Rachel. This kind of goes back to your bill paying words. My 11-year-old son, his new thing, it's not really new, it's probably 6 months old or so. He loves to go riding in the car with me, and so I'll let him sit in the front seat. He's big enough. And he thinks that he can swear his face off once he gets in the car, and it's just the two of us. And so I let him have it initially. But what he's doing is he's trying to figure out how to put these words together. You know, like, how do you, like, MFer, right? That's a great one, right? It's classic. He's not quite figured out how to put that together yet, so he uses words that don't make sense together. So I'm trying as a parent to make sure that he knows how to put these words together.
Some important guidance right there, Mike. All right,
look, here's the thing. The world out there is scary, and he needs to know how to communicate.
Well, the way we frame it, I'm calling right now, is different rules for different houses. Mom acts different on calls with clients than she does when she goes in and talks to people at Truist. And people act different at church, and that's okay.
100%.
But mommy doesn't want you doing it in front of her. Just give her that illusion.
We found that if he does it with me, he won't do it anywhere else.
Your call has been forwarded to
Leave a
voicemail.
voicemail. Hold on.
The person you're trying to reach is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up.
Hey Jenny, Rachel here at Anchor Bridge Home. Just reaching out to you because I see 150 Pawnee Street. I was really interested to see if I may be your buyer. I happen to be a local investor, so feel free to give me a call back, 910-322-9358.
Did you guys see that rates dropped today pretty significantly?
Really?
I hadn't, only because I've been at RJ's doctor's appointment. I was waiting for Michael to come home and talk to me about it.
Well, while the world is falling apart, at least the interest rates are going down a little bit.
What did they go down to?
Just above 6.5, like 6.63.
Wow. Quite a bit.
Let's see.
Apparently when interest rates drop. Be on the phone?
I think she's just calling.
Oh.
I'm reaching out to folks. Sorry.
Apparently
I
when
have,
interest rates
to
drop,
be fair, Colin, I have like 5 years of cold calling experience at this point, so I can pretty much make dinner and do this.
Oh yeah, well, that's a fantastic skill to have. I can't do that. I think way too hard about cold calling. Way too hard.
Let's start learning to do monkey brain. Every call is different. Nobody cares what you're. How many cold callers do you remember what you talked about?
None.
Never.
Literally none. So I say this in the nicest way possible. Nobody cares.
I know. Well, and that's something that I tell myself every time I'm like doing this. That they're not going to remember this in 100 years when we're all dead. Like nobody gives a shit.
Remember it at dinner.
Yeah. But for some reason, I just am so like I have a phobia of just like appearing stupid or like foolish or like an idiot. I just don't want to I don't want to take that on, you know? So it's a psychological thing with me that I'm working through, I guess.
I would just recommend every morning looking and listening to mindset stuff and just reminding yourself, like, literally everyone wakes up every day feeling insecure. Like, you're not any different than anyone else. The difference is when you, like, get up and actually do what you're doing right now, which is cold calling people and not caring about looking stupid.
Right.
I like to gamify it, as much as I can. And I was going to use a really bad war reference, but I won't do that in front of you, Rachel. By
it's okay. People do it all the time.
This is not war, but if you think about like going into battle as like an athlete, let's go athlete instead of war. you know what, it's like the Michael Jordan analogy, right? He missed thousands and thousands and thousands of shots, right? He also made thousands and thousands and thousands of shots.
Yeah.
But he made them because he took them.
Yeah.
1 4 5 5 2.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why I still do this.
Well, hopefully this agent calls me. She's like, can I call you back in 10 minutes? And they're in Charlotte. So I really want them to do it while we're on the phone.
Don't you hate when you see a smoking hot deal in your market and then the agent won't pick up?
Yeah.
Want to go, knock on their door or go to their office or something?
I believe in annoyance into compliance, Mike. Like,
Well, it's like the Coke. I'm still here. I'm still here.
I find any agent that I reach out to today will be getting a LinkedIn message from me. I think unlike Sub 2, I use LinkedIn a lot more just for homestead buyers and community partners.
100%.
But like they get a LinkedIn message, they get a Facebook message, because I also want to make sure they know I'm a real person and I'm not full of it when I say I'm a local investor. Nobody will care more about this community than me.
Interesting. That's a great idea.
It's a great idea. And what it does is actually forces you to make your Facebook, your LinkedIn profiles, all of those socials like professional.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm taking off old bachelor party photos and things like that just to make sure no one sees those.
My Insta is getting much more cold.
I know.
Believe it or not, I'm actually using my 20-year-old. I'm paying him to take care of edit my Instagram because I don't want to do it.
Good idea.
Yeah.
I think it's
It's
great
crazy
idea.
you have a 20-year-old, Rachel, by the way.
I do. He turns 21 in August, and it's terrifying.
Crazy.
Here, let's get done. You're next. I want to talk to someone in front of Collin.
Yeah, I want to hear your conversation so badly.
I'll just start dialing you into when people call me back.
Good. I'll happily listen in. Yeah. That's kind of why I'm not really dialing. I'm waiting for you to get
It's
somebody
a
on.
smart decision, Collin. Rachel is great.
Yeah.
I'm a cold. This is my stage.
Hello, this is Marilena.
Hello, Marlena. This is Rachel Davis. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Miss Rachel. How about yourself?
Oh man, you sound like you're talking fast. So I will be super quick.
No worries, tell me.
So hey, I'm looking at one of your listings for 621 Hempstead Drive in El Paso.
Yes.
Wanted to just reach out, let you know, because I know you get a million phone calls from investors. I am an investor. I see the property is low equity, which is something I target. And really just wanted to reach out to you before it's really out and about to make the connection so that if you're running into issues with it, you can give me a call. But I guess my first question for you is what's motivating the seller to sell?
Well, he already lives in North Carolina, and so he rented the house. And actually, we're getting a lot of people calling on it. So I think it'll be we'll probably have it contracted over the weekend because I think it's priced well.
That's awesome.
And so he's not really looking to make money on it. He just wants to sell it because he already has another payment over in North Carolina.
And he probably should be nervous because he's got low equity, and so he has to sell it.
And I did a market analysis, so he's good where he's at right now.
Awesome.
And so if anything, he's gonna probably net about 10 grand.
Okay.
So he's good. He's good where he's at right now. Yes.
You sound locked in, Marilena, because most of the time when I talk to agents, they have no idea what the seller really wants, hopes, and needs. So, this is my other question for you. Then what I do doesn't work for everyone. Do you have other listings?
I do. I have one that is on 14344 Crisingle.
Okay, Crisingle.
Now let me ask you: Are you trying to get those assumption loans or something like that?
So
Is
I
that
do.
what you do?
So I can purchase any number of ways. So most of what I do, when I target folks who have low equity, yes, there is one way that I use, and that is to assume their payments. I use a third-party provider in order to help them, or not help them, in order to make the loan payments. And then we write into the contract, because I already know, because you're already talking about this, that we write into the contract that if I miss any payments or my company misses payments, it's actually the best thing that works out for them, because they get the home back that they can do with whatever they want. So they can either resell it on the MLS with you, so you're making your commission now twice. But at the end of the day, it doesn't do me any good to not make my payments, right? Like, it damages my brand, and candidly, I put veterans into my homes. So the last thing I'm going to do as a U.S. Army veteran is put someone else, it's my brother or sister, into a home that they can't afford, or that they're going to be I'm going to default on. I apologize. So yes, that is what I do as part of how I enter and acquire properties. Have you worked with someone like me before?
I have, and I'm not interested. Thank you so much. I'm nothing personal. It's just that it doesn't. Yeah, my clients have. They don't want to do it. I've had. If I told you how many people I've had call me on those for the property that I just gave you the address.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy. But no, he's not interested in doing it that way. Jack went ahead and said, no, don't do it that way, because it is a VA loan.
Okay.
So
I work.
If I have anything else in mind, I'll keep you posted.
Please do. Just know I am a veteran. I've worked this with VA loans. So the JAG doesn't. They don't understand real estate.
Yeah, they don't, but they scare the seller. And so that's enough to get them not to want to do it, you know?
I get it. I also know, and this, by the way, he's in North Carolina, which is where I live. But I've worked this with other veterans across the country. If there's ever a time, Marilena, that you want me to sit down with you on a Zoom, I am happy to talk to you about what the JAG told you versus what I handle on a monthly basis. So if it's about educating your seller and not scaring them, I would love, love, love to have that conversation with you.
Perfect. Sounds like a plan. Thank you so much, Matt, for reaching out to me, and I'll keep you posted if I have anything else coming up.
Perfect. I'll reach out in a couple days.
God bless.
Bye. Bye. Hold on. Make sure that's hung up. Yeah, we did.
Really good. I was kind of shocked that she didn't want anything to do with the conversation. Really.
She doesn't know. She heard a JAG say that, and she's like, I don't touch you.
Yeah.
It's the same conversation we had before, right? The attorney was like, hey, don't do that.
Right.
What?
She wasn't even like really listening. She just immediately just went back to that.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, so
sorry.
Rachel, go ahead.
There are a lot of people that don't know how to talk about this out there that call her that ruin it for people who do. They ruin it, which is why I extended my time. I'm calling her tomorrow to set up a time to talk to her and be like, let's talk about this. That way, because I can tell you want to take care of your seller. I know you want to take care of your seller, and it's not going to work for this, but you're going to run into a distress situation where it does. And I want to make sure that I'm the person you call because you trust me.
Okay. Yeah. It's definitely how I felt from the conversation. Like, if I were the person that you were talking to, you would already have my trust. Like, you're just likable. You can explain it well. You definitely sound like you know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Let's break it down a little bit, because there's so much subtlety in what Rachel just did there.
Yeah.
It's tough to see unless you're actually looking for it. So
I hope you don't mind I recorded your on my phone. I recorded it.
By the way, if you guys ever want these recordings, I have them, obviously.
Oh, yeah. I do. Okay. I do want them.
What did Rachel do, Collin, at the very first part of the phone call? Do you remember what she said to the agent? There was not just, hello, hi, I'm Rachel.
I don't remember specifically, but I know you'll jog my memory.
She said, you're talking fast. I can tell you're in a hurry. Yeah. I'm going to make this quick.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
Yeah, that instantly stood out to me as something that you should probably do. For sure.
And, think about it this way. What Rachel did is something that very, very few other people are going to say at the start of the phone call, right? So it's called a pattern interrupt, right? It's not, hello, let me sell you on something. This is, hey, I can tell because I'm someone who's an aware person that you're either driving, you're in a hurry, maybe you're in a meeting, so I'm going to take only a minute or two of your time.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are going to say that.
Yeah.
And so that's really, really important. I thought that was great. What else did Rachel do? Go ahead, Rachel.
Yeah, the reason I do that is it indicates to the person they might be being rude. And nobody, even when you're like, oh, I do want to be rude, you're like, now I got called out on it. I've had people completely change how they start talking to me because I subtly called out their behavior.
Interesting. That's fascinating, actually.
Feels it's fun.
Oh, man.
Yep. So it's those little things that Rachel does incredibly well because you've been doing it for a long time, Rachel, right?
Yeah, you're comfortable on the phone. Like, you're comfortable talking to strangers about this topic. Yeah, obviously.
What else, Collin, did you hear that Rachel did really well? I mean, there are a lot of things.
There's so many things that were, like, super, super subtle. Just in, like, you were befriending her without her even, like, knowing that you were doing that. Which I thought I was, like, charmed myself. I was like, damn, I would be best friends with this person. Like, instantly. Just because, like, the way that you're, like, using the words and, making friends just off the bat, just, like, naturally is fascinating to me.
It was a great call. Now, listen, the result was not the way that you wanted it to go. But what I wrote down here is you took off the table immediately the listing that you were calling about. Immediately. Mm-hmm. Hey, what else do you have available? This is what I'm looking for. And, even when you're presented with the idea of taking over payments, yeah, that's one of the ways that we purchase. Absolutely. Yeah. Especially for a situation like this, which is low equity. Typically, it benefits the seller because I'm able to pay them more.
Yeah.
Now, were you, Rachel, convince the agent to do that with you? No, not yet. But, you left the window open, the door open for other opportunities. And so I think that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Collin, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was just curious. Are you planning on calling her back in a couple of days? Like you are? And
she's in El Paso. Hell yeah. There's a whole bunch of people that'll buy that property.
Okay. How often are you following up with agents? Do you follow up with everyone that you have a good conversation with, or?
They actively seem like they aren't telling me to F off. I call them weekly. And unless they actively tell me to F off or hang up and I call back and I'm like, I think we got disconnected, and they hang up again. I'm like, all right. Well, I write their name down and I have a whole booklet that I go to NCRIA events and I'm like, let me see if I find you.
Man, you're a badass. You're a badass. That's awesome.
It's easy to be rude on a text. It's easy to be rude on the phone. It's real hard to be rude to me because I am delightful.
Yeah.
And even if she isn't, she's going to tell you that she is.
So. Yeah.
I'm going to it's annoyance into compliance. I'm going to be so nice and tell you all the ways I can help you if you just let me.
That's awesome.
That's how I'm starting to get people to call me here.
That's really awesome. I really like that approach a lot, actually.
You know what's so great is that your guys' phone calls were so similar in
really?
So many ways. Like the way that you guys handled the phone call, even at the very beginning, the way that you guys led into what exactly it is that you guys are trying to accomplish, it was the same thing, right? There was no BS like, hey, tell me about the roof. Tell me, This was, hey, this is exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
This is where I'm, this is how I can possibly help your seller. Does it make sense for us to continue a conversation? What concerns do you have? One thing I would have asked Rachel there, potentially, is what she mentioned that she's gotten a lot of activity on that listing, right? And she said that she was confident that she was going to be under contract by the end of the weekend. I would have pushed, hey, do you have any offers on the table? What kind of offers are you getting? Are they traditional offers? Are they seller finance offers? What are those?
I was assuming because it's not listed, it was wholesalers. Mm-hmm. Or that she had someone off market, because she said he only needed 10K. So if he got the right wholesaler, he's wholesaling that house. Yep. So particularly because it's a VA loan and so many service members are uneducated about their own VA loan and how much it'll cover. They just think I have to exit out, and the real estate agents, one, don't really care to educate them. So they just, not they all just want, but their main motivation is commission. And so they're like, I gotta get this sold. And that's what I think is going on with her.
Okay. Interesting. So if you would have submitted an offer subject to and offered the seller $20,000 to take away.
No idea if that's even feasible. She gave me a number and I was just like, oh, compliment her because she knows his number. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's feasible. It means that's the number he believes he needs.
Right. Okay.
So I'm trying to have the conversation that they need to have, not the one I want to have.
Okay.
Mindset guides a lot of what I do, Collin.
Yeah.
Like, I have to stop. I stop thinking about what I want and start thinking about how to fix other people's issues.
Okay. That's what I need to do. It would be kind of interesting if you would call that Eric guy that I called and see how you take the conversation.
I would be willing to do that, but only if I had you on the call so you could hear it. I want you to hear me talk to him because if something happened where I'm able to close that, I'd want to be able to cut you into it because, because people warm things up in order to get paid. We don't do shit for free in this community.
Well, I'm just trying to learn right now. This is really what I'm trying to do. But yes, you're right.
Should we do that now?
You want me to be on the call, him knowing that I'm on the call, or?
To call someone after they just talked to and maybe that's my own I like to give it the 24 hours of cool down because I know he's getting them bombarded and it makes me feel better to know, candidly, Mike, when I feel like I'm on the higher ground.
I agree 100%. I was just thinking since we're all here.
I was just curious.
I'd be nervous that I'd repeat things he said. So
Well, there's only so many different things you can say for subject to, but anyway. Yeah, I just thought it would be interesting to see how you took the conversation and to see if you could warm him up a little bit more with your bubbly personality than I could. I was just curious to see how that would roll.
To do that, you'll need to set up your mail account and settings.
I have a personality that is 180 degrees separate from my husband. And there are certain people that my husband needs to be in front of because he's W-2 and serious and an executive VP at Truist and they need that, right? I am much more what do you need? How can I help you? Feel before we think, where my husband is I have to give them the spreadsheet. That works for some people. Some people need the spreadsheet. They need the numbers. I'm not that way. That's my email address that I just put in the chat. Okay. Send me an email and you and I can coordinate. And actually, I'll just give you my phone number. That way you can give me a call or shoot me a text and we will schedule a time to call Homeboy tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Now, that executive VP husband of yours was shirt off doing this thing at Squad Up. I don't know if he told you.
He told me that's what he had to do in order to be initiated into Owners Club. He had to verify that he had an Apple phone, and he had to do that dance.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Facts.
Mambo number 5. You left that part out.
That's my favorite song. Yeah, I thought that was assumed. Hey guys, since we're at the top of the hour, today was a blast. Thank you guys. Rachel, always great to connect with you. Collin, same thing with you. I love seeing your calling skills grow, and that's why I was excited. In fact, Rachel, I didn't tell you this. I texted Collin before, and I said, hey, I really want to make sure that you're showing up today because you, Rachel, were showing up, and I thought you'd be a great person for him to connect with. So thank you guys.
I appreciate that. It's definitely...
What's your last name so I can find you on the Sub2 community?
It's Preston, Preston.
We'll go ahead. Are you on? I'm sorry. I guess I can do this offline. That way I'm not bothered.
Take your time. It's okay.
Are you on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook? Where are you all at?
I'm on Facebook. I am on Instagram, but it's I got to change it to be a little bit more professional. And I'm also on LinkedIn, but I'm not committed to that one.
Not yet.
That is the thing that a lot of this community is not doing that I think they're sleeping on. I think everyone's I don't want a W-2. And I'm remember, we sell houses to W-2 people who qualify for loans.
Yeah.
It's also great great private money lenders.
Yeah. Yeah. I should definitely look into that more. Actually, I will do that today. But yeah, it's just, I'm on Facebook for the most part.
I'll reach out to you. And then Mike, if you can answer my message too that I sent yesterday about times, if that works.
Let me right after this, I'll let you know. I think it
Perfect.
does
Thank
work,
you.
but yeah, let me just double check.
Perfect. And then I'll sign up for another low equity call from the end of the month.
Love it, guys. Hey, keep this open for a couple minutes while this stuff processes on your side. As always, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate both of you guys so much. So next time, guys, thank you guys so much for attending Low Equity, On Market, Low Equity, Dialed In, podcast, all of that good stuff. So thank you guys. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye.
Thanks, Mike. Nice to meet you, Colin.